grind. It's the grind. It's the grind. It's the grind.
Grind time and spring is well and truly here. Everest on Saturday now, and I am pumped. Great day of betting on Saturday, which we'll get to. So I want to go through that. I want to show you a good new feature on TKZ. We'll do some analysis, and then I want to talk about the Four Corners episode from last week as well, and go through a few bookies' terms and conditions that I've read through, and was very surprised by what I read. Let's get into it first. Springtime, Spring with the King Pass. So 8 meetings, $200 for 8 meetings, not 8 races or race days, but 8 full race meetings, and they're the big boys. Everest and Caulfield Cup on Saturday, Geelong Cup October 22, Cox Plate 25, Bendigo Cup 29, and then the big Derby Day week. You get the all 4 days: Derby Day, Cup Day, Oaks Day, Champions Day. We are in the middle of the best time of the year. $200, 8 days. Log into your TKZ site and you'll see it there. Sign up and get full access for those 8 days. Let's talk about this feature for TKZ. So this is a great new one. This isn't just for members. This is for everyone to go back and have a look at results. So if you go to today's races and then scroll down, so today's races, scroll down. I'm obviously logged in, but even if you haven't got access for the day, you will still see this over here. Select the date. So if we do that, let's go back and have a look at Saturday. So what this is a tool where you can go back and have a look at the last 2 weeks of TKZ. So let's just go back to the 4th, and it'll come up like this. Click on anything you want. Let's have a look at Flemington. I don't know. Have a look at this race at Flemington. Valiant King won the race. Flemington race 7 from the 4th of October. But what this is what, if you had paid for the meeting, this is what you would have seen. Revelair, we had top pick from Gilded Water, blah, blah, blah. Down here, all the different look, Valiant King was top rater on Cam there, 100 to 1. Class B weight, cruising acceleration metric. And why was it top pick on Cam? Let's just have a look just out of interest. I didn't even know that. So 91. Must have a good acceleration. Valiant King. Yeah, 124. Yeah, just a good combo. 124. Anyway, then we just go down and have a look at the prices here. These bullet prices are my rated prices. Then you've got the open price, the high price. You can see how easy Revelair was in betting, 370 out to 550. And the green's the overlay. The red is the underlay. What did we have? Valiant King, 71. We had Valiant King a bit short. I didn't back it. But if you're an overlay man, you would have been on 71, 91 out to 126. And was really well backed into 41 as well. We had Gilded Water, $2.50. $3. It was $2.50 to $2.60. And smashed in betting there with the reason being Revelair was probably people thinking that he didn't want a weight penalty for that Melbourne Cup. So that's where you can go. If you want to go and check out the past results for the last 2 weeks, that is where you go. You can scroll along here where it will change Ballina and you can pick the meetings. But let's just go back to today's races. Then we go select date, and we're just going to go through a few things for Saturday just gone, the 11th. So I just want to talk a bit about race strength and cruising, the cruising. So let's have a look at the Caulfield meeting. So we saw early on in the Caulfield meeting, we saw that it was becoming quite leaderish there. So the first winner from memory sat on pace. Then we saw a big win by Point Barrow, who came from well back in the field, but was $2.60 and was a really probably the run of the day, I think, along with Giga Kick, who was ultra impressive from back in the field. I haven't had a look at the sectional times or anything like that. Braden Starr from memory sat on pace at 3rd or 4th. And I was on Jenny Lala, but O2 Good sat sort of behind where Jenny Lala was and was Too Good, and they ran 1-2. So by now I'm thinking that the track's pretty favouring on-pace horses, not mad leaders or anything, but definitely, as I predicted on the Saturday set, that you wanted to be on pace and more so on the fence, and I think that proved correct. So what I want to talk about now is the rest of the meeting, and we get to a race like Zoo Sensation. So I didn't have an official tip in this race. You can see the selections here. Zoo Sensation, based on value, over King Zephyr, who was going to get back a little bit in the field, and then Kintyre third pick. So this is what I want to talk about, race pressure. And this screen is, everything on this whole site is just so valuable. And in conjunction with your own form, if you put it together and you invested in the day in understanding what's going on, you can use each one of these individual, and you'll find where what fits into what you're doing. I'm not going to say use this, use that. You'll find what works well with your stuff as well. But every one of these metrics is very, very important and can be used in conjunction with your own stuff or just on its own. So what I'm saying here is the race pressure. So Caulfield looked pretty leaderish. Race pressure this race, very slow. We see Zoo Sensation number one for race pressure. That means I think Zoo Sensation will lead from Amenable. Now, if we go down here and have a look at the cruising, we've got Zoo Sensation on 87 with Amenable at 87 equal. So they are a little bit different, as in, and I'll show you later with the leader in the Caulfield Guineas why they are different. Cruising is not a speed map. It's not an exact speed map. This is more of a speed map, as in the fact that what I think is going to lead based on race pressure will be here 1, 2, 3. Cruising is the combination of an early speed sectionals mixed with middle stage sectionals mixed with the settled position in the previous run. So if you're just doing a pure speed map, you're probably going to weight heavier where the horse actually sat in the run. This has got more. This has got more early speed and middle speed sectionals in it. So you'll often find horses in this cruising who you think will lead, but have low cruising metrics. And the main reason why that is because they're coming out of slowly run races consistently and may have led or sat second in slowly run races, and they'll have lower cruising metrics, yet may appear higher in this race pressure tick, depending on whether we think it's going to be fast or slow. These are horses that are suited by this, very slow. So Zoo Sensation and Amenable, 1, suited by the track pattern on the day, 2, suited by the predicted race pressure. And that's so important to identifying winners. This is a great race because the favourite King Zephyr, as you can see here, if we go down, King Zephyr had where's the King? 74. So we're still on cruising, 74. Probably had a pretty big acceleration, only 102. I thought it would have had a bigger, so it didn't have a good cam. Zoo Sensation with the same acceleration metric as King Zephyr. There's obviously a lot more goes into this, but I'm just explaining how one factor or one metric on this site is so important, and it's so important when there's bias involved. Now, if you marry these, I'll actually wait for the Caulfield Guineas to have a look how you marry up the barriers here, because barriers and weight, that's why I put them on the screen here, barriers and weight aren't included in this. These are raw metric numbers based on those things that I said before. So let's move on to race 6. This is the 4-horse race. Globe obviously leads and beats Treasure the Moment, Buckaroo. We had Globe third pick, Treasure on top from Buckaroo Globe. Nothing exceptional there. Let's have a look here. Leader is Zoo Sensation, just won the previous race. Now we're predicting a slow tempo. Globe to lead, $8. I didn't back Globe, but what I'm saying is I know that if you're doing your own stuff and you like Globe, this will help. So let's go down and have a look at the market as well. Bullet price $3 for buck. $7.50 for Globe. If I go and have a look at Dynamic, which I'm not going to do, Globe started $13 on Dynamic odds on Betfair. Big value there at $13. If you like Globe and you wanted to back it, marry these up and it will help your punting. The other thing, I was against Buckaroo in this race. I want to show you why based on this. So, cruising, Buckaroo and Treasure the moment are exactly the same cruising speeds. Globe going to lead, which we have confirmed here. Globe going to lead, but I've got Treasure the moment second on my actual map. Everybody had Treasure the moment second on the map. Globe from Treasure the moment and Buckaroo. Fast forward to acceleration. I've got Treasure the moment at 109 acceleration. I've got Buckaroo 108. So the way I'm thinking, I can't see Treasure the moment. I can't see Buckaroo running over the top of Treasure the moment based on those numbers. And if it was the other way around where the buck was going to lead Treasure the moment, I would have thought differently about this race. As we know, Globe got away with easy sectionals and went bang, which we've seen so much this spring with Mr. Brightside leading the whole way. Lindeman's done it. And there's another one which Mr. Brightside did it. And also the Bullet Pride of Jenny did it last time to Treasure the moment. So we've seen these small fields where this is so important as well. I'll tell you what else is important with this is recognizing when horses had an easy lead in front, got away with an easy tempo, especially at leaders tracks like Caulfield and Moonee Valley, and then they're going to Flemington for Cup Week. Bet against them. They don't often produce at Flemington again, especially if that is fast or very fast, the race pressure. They're going up in race pressure. A lot of them, the times they aren't going to lead. And they've got that long straight there at Flemington. And they can, and more often than not, get mowed down. Let's keep moving along. Now, this was free on Saturday. And so many of you took up that offer as well, which is fantastic. I want as many people on this side as possible checking out these metrics. So Caulfield was free on Saturday. So hopefully a few of you jumped on and backed a few winners. Transatlantic, another on pace. So let's have a look at, I was on Seaples. Just had no luck, got knocked back, but thought Seaples was going to be on pace, which was a big plus off an average tempo. But once again, top race pressure, predicted leader, Transatlantic, and got the money as well. Let's just have a look at the market for that. $10 Transatlantic, 10 into 9. Seaples I was on $2.50, well back 320 to 260. Didn't get the cash, but if once again, race pressure, very important on leaders' tracks. Especially if it's not off that fast sort of pace backing leaders. But now we come to Caulfield Guineas with Autumn Boy. Obviously, Golden Bullet. For those of you who watched Max Bet on Friday, I explained why I liked Autumn Boy. What I want to talk about today is the race pressure. So this is where it gets a little bit different. Yes, it was an advantage to be on pace on Saturday, but I also think it was an advantage to be on the fence on Saturday. And this predicted tempo of very fast is crucial. So what I want to do here is have a look at the cruising metric for this race. And this is where I was talking about a few things. So I'm going to talk about two horses here. One is Autumn Boy, who has a cruising metric of 92. A lot of people would expect Autumn Boy's cruising metric to be a bit lower. What that means from barrier 1 is that Damien Lane can sit closer. If I was a jockey, I'd be getting on here and having a look at these cruising metrics to know where you should be sitting in the run, or not where you can sit. Because obviously, if you can sit closer and you're not using up too much petrol, you want to sit closer. And barrier 1 allowed Damien Lane to sit three back fence in 6th position, which we're going to go have a look at the video in a minute. But the other one which I want to talk about as well is West of Swindon. So West of Swindon led last start at Moonee Valley off a slow tempo. Now drew out in barrier 14. if I go and have a look at let's just duck over here, then we'll have a look at the replay. But I just want to show you this with west of Swindon and why these cruising metrics are so valuable. So this is the 1600 meter Moonee Valley Friday night race that Vinrock was in. Slow tempo. So off my number did 79 to lead. 79 to lead. But have a look at these other settling positions: 5th, 9th, 15th, 4th, 8th. So when the pressure went on, which it was going to in this race, West of Swindon only settled 9th. So there's two hopes from barrier 14 for West of Swindon here. And the two hopes are to go hard, which he did. He went hard, and we'll go and have a look at this. Let's go and have a look at the tape now. And you see, no, that's the last race. Let's have a look at Caulfield Guineas here. So this is when they jumped. So this is Autumn Boy on the fence here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Wotan here as well. Gets squeezed. James really rides Wotan, trying to get him going, but he just didn't have that early tempo at Caulfield. I'm not quite sure why. He just couldn't really get him. He tried to get him into a more forward position, and he couldn't go. He just couldn't go early. But let's have a look at West of Swindon cross from out wide and go to the front here. But what a difference as well barriers make. So I just want to pause it here again. I talked about this on Friday with Max Bet. Autumn Boy here, barrier 1, gets into 6. Last time he was out the back 3 wide, no cover. Whereas Wotan had barrier 1 last time, and Wotan was here and got to 2nd behind Bayvak. Barriers are super important, recognising them before the race, also recognising them after the race, which are the big runs afterwards. And we'll see a massive run in this race from the bottom one, Observer, who actually had the highest cruising metric. So as we go here, we see West of Swindon burn. So there was two hopes for West, either to go to the front like that or to take a sit back. If he takes a sit back, he doesn't have the acceleration. If he goes hard in the front like that, he's not going to have the acceleration. So I was heavily against West of Swindon for that reason. He was 16 to 1, so was a lot of other people. But understanding that, I'm just going to go pause it here and go back. Understanding and looking for these scenarios of horses that you think are going to have high cruising metrics that don't are extremely important. Wotan had a pretty high cruising metric, as did Vinrock. But Wotan, for some reason, couldn't muster this race. And I'm surprised about that. I was a query at the 1600, but I did think Wotan would be closer in the run. So as you can see there, Damien Lane gets into a beautiful spot and sits closer than what James does on Wotan here. So that was the reverse last time. So it's a 6-length swing. It's a 6-length swing of where they were, which is huge. And in that barrier change is often a chance of happening. Have a look at this horse behind now. This is what I want to focus on for next time. Have a look at Observer, who showed great early pace, was the top cruising metric. This is Autumn Boy getting off and getting the split there and putting him away. But have a look at Observer here, who can't get out. Trying to get through, doesn't get through. And look at the way that Observer picks up for that last 100. Look there, on pace off a pretty fast early tempo. I haven't got the figures. But Observer still has the height to pick up and get home and run 4th here. Observer's the run of the race for mine here. Look at that. And still didn't really even go. I'm glad he didn't get out, because I obviously bet up on Autumn Boy. But that was a huge run for Observer. Watch out for him over distance, and watch out for him at Flemington as well. Let's get back over to Saturday and keep on rolling on with this meeting. Now, we saw race 9, Giga Kick. I was on Tropicus, tipped Tropicus at 550 on the Saturday set on Thursday, and started, let's see what Tropicus started, I think about $3, $2.90, $4 into $2.90 for Tropicus. Big go. Let's just have a look at this race pressure, because this is another one off a very fast tempo. Giga Kick top for race pressure. You don't see Tropicus there, because Tropicus was an on-pacer. These are horses that are advantaged by the race pressure. I'm not suggesting on a leader's track even over the 1100 metres to be backing this. I could sit here and say, oh, you should have been on Giga Kick because of race pressure. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's beautiful when it all marries up. So if this was a slow tempo or very slow, Tropicus would have been top pick on race pressure. He wasn't because it's obviously a fast tempo. So let's just go and have a look at the cruising metric here. We've got Golden Boom, who was on pace, Tropicus 101 with a 2 that were on pace but not suited by the predicted race pressure of being fast. Let's get to race 10. Race 10, great result. She's bulletproof. Now, this is what I'm talking about when things marry up and are beautiful. She's bulletproof. Very slow. We've got an on-pace track. We've got very slow. We've got all these factors, other factors adding up for She's bulletproof. And let's go and have a look at the cruising for She's bulletproof as well. Because She's bulletproof's never led. She's never led before in her life. She's bulletproof. Yet she has number one cruising, 88. Next best, 84. Next best, 82. Drawn wide and should get across. So if you're drawn wide and probably not going to get across, big worry. Big worry. Depending on the jockey, depending on the race tempo as well. But it's a bit of a red flag there if you don't think you're going to get in. But yeah, 1,000-meter races, they can sit wide, 1,100, 1,200 sometimes and win. But it's a big negative to be sitting wide and not being able to get in. Let's go and have a look how this race unfolded here. And then we'll get across to the analysis screen and just actually run this one and have a look and do some stuff from Saturday. So this is She's bulletproof going forward here and getting across as well. You can see because that high cruising metric that she didn't have to use up too much petrol here and got across fairly comfortably, which really over that last 50 metres was the difference between winning and losing. So gets across, leads as predicted. And then if we fast forward, round the turn, still got something left, kicks clear and falls in the end. Falls in. But if there was more pressure in this race, I don't think She's bulletproof would have been winning this race. So if she goes to a race with more pressure where she's got a different race setup and different scenario, then that's what you need to look out for. But this was her race. This was it. We're on, got the result. Fantastic. My point about talking about all this stuff is that I'm only talking about race pressure and cruising at the moment, but all of these things here are very, very, very important for the piece of the puzzle that you are looking for. And we'll go through it one each week to sort of pinpoint. Now that I can go back and have a look at these meetings every day. We've got a golden bullet here at Kembla in 28 minutes. Let's hope it gets home. Jar Jar. What's going on at Kilmore? Righto, I'll stop thinking about betting on today's races and get back over. So now I was talking about She's bulletproof. So let's do a bit of analysis now, and let's have a look at this She's bulletproof scenario through the analysis tool. So we've gone from 12th of June to the 12th of October here, which is yesterday, Sunday the 12th. So She's bulletproof. Let's put it in as an official tip, which it was. While I'm here, let's just run that and just see how the officials all in all have gone. And then we'll just have a look at this scenario. So the officials plus 4.8, 1860, 21 percent win. So this scenario that I'm talking about here was off a slow or very slow race pressure. And it was rank 1 acceleration. Let's just put 1 to 2 in. So an on pacer, very slow. So suited by race pressure and an official tip. Let's run that and see how these horses have gone. So this is the scenario that we're talking about here. Plus 19.2, 202 bets. 62 winners, 30%, 19. So you can see if you married that up as well with a leader bias track as well, you can see how important and how everything once married together shows a really, really good profit. Let's do a bit of housekeeping analysis and just have a look through October and see how we're going in October. So October, the first 12 days of October. We'll clear this, reset that. So official tips, first 12 days of October are showing a 14.5%, 232 bets, 59. So that's fantastic. Turn that around, 25%. It's been a good month. Let's have a look at selection one as well. Not sure how we're doing selection one. So let's have a look and see. So selection one, 618 bets. That's one better race, obviously. 180 winners, 29%, 8.66% on turnover. Lays, horses that I don't like. So if you backed all of the lays, minus 25%. Wow. 388 bets, 43 winners, 11%, minus 25%. So you can see the big difference between the tips and the lays. October has been a great month so far. Have made a few subtle changes in a few of the formulas, plus also reviewing every bet in the morning before they go out. Every single bet gets reviewed. So on a Saturday, you can imagine how long that sort of takes to go and review every bet. Been taking out some bets where there's queries around, say first up horses that haven't trialed, or as well horses that have changed trainers and might have gone from, I don't know, Gay Waterhouse, for example, up to a Cairns trainer, sort of a downgrade where you can tell that a sort of more well-known stable has got rid of the horse, or if there's any queries on there, I've sort of been taking them out a bit more, unless they're a really good price. Let's just go back and have a look at September as well. September through to 1st to the 30th. Let's just have a look at the official tips there for September. So we've had 489, a profit of 3.8%. Selection one. September started well, actually, and then dropped away. Selection one, 0.73 off 1,300 bets. So you can see we're doing a lot better in October. And lays, then I want to go and check overlays, and we'll get into a bit of boring terms and conditions stuff. 817 minus 8.7. So you can still see the marked difference between lays and horses that I like. Let's just have a look at overlays. So by an overlay, I'm talking about the high price versus the bullet price. So horses where bullet price is shorter than the high price. So betting on prices. I'm just going to put every horse that is an overlay at the end of the race. For September, let's have a look at what this comes back as. So 3,020 bets minus 2.2. So if you backed every overlay in September, you would have lost. Let's have a look if you backed every horse where the bullet price was longer. See, there's probably not a marked difference there. Minus 5.7. So 2 against minus 5. Not a huge amount of difference there in that one. Let's go and have a look at this in October now and see how these overlays are going. So the 1st of October through to the 12th. The overlays were on fire early and they've dropped away a bit, as was the selection one, which has dropped away a bit. Let's hope the official tips really pick up now, which they're doing in October, and everything sort of averages out, and there's a really nice big sample size of profit there at the end of the day, or the end of the year. So this is October, 8.6, 1,200 bets, 8.6. That's for all overlays. All horses where the bookies price was shorter is minus 20%. So you can see a big difference there. October's been great, 8 against minus 20. let's just run that against for those two and just see how it works out just for those two. And then, so the horses we don't like, the horses that are unders, minus 11 off 7,900 bets. Horses we do like based on price. I don't back all these horses. I just on the official tips. Unless unless I adjust a little bit for track bias on the day and I find something that really fits in. So you can see I'll say a 1% profit against minus 11. So that's it for the moment on the analysis. I'll go into things a bit more next week. Hopefully we have a winning week. Let's continue on. So I wanted to finish off this episode of The Grind by just having a chat about some terms and conditions and also some things that came up on the Four Corners episode, which aired last week. If you haven't seen it, go and have a look at just Google it into YouTube and go and have a look because it's quite interesting what happens up there at Northern Territory. Just have a quick look at this and then I'll come back.
We investigate the Albanese government's failure to act on gambling reform and the lack of regulation of this multi-billion-dollar industry.
Can I ask you why it's sometimes taking 3 to 4 years to hear people's complaints?
Wow, the interesting part there, and I'm going to go into this, is 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years for Northern Territory to hear complaints. So if you've got a complaint about a bookie, 3 to 4 years, if they won't pay out, if they think that you have breached their terms and conditions. So what I want to do is just go and have a look at a bookie's terms and conditions. And I picked up COS here because some of the things when I looked through their terms and conditions, and a lot of bookies have similar terms and conditions. I haven't looked through them all because I find all this stuff incredibly boring. But when it affects my betting, when it affects my turnover and bookies are hiding behind these terms and conditions, and it's not all, it's just a small select group that do it. But Northern Territory are overloaded with complaints, and that's why it's 3 to 4 years. One, they aren't staffed enough, but two, they're just getting inundated with bookies' complaints, with punters' complaints for bookies not paying out or doing the wrong thing or closing accounts or rejecting bets or whatever it may be. But the big one is really they're not paying out that I'm most concerned about. Let's have a look at a bookie's terms and conditions. UpCos's terms and conditions here. So going to 6.2, I'm going to start in fraud. Just bear with me because I'm not going to be reading through terms and conditions on this show that often. But this is very important because we're talking about a lot in the Four Corners episode was around what the government hasn't acted on. One thing that the government hasn't acted on is the National Gambling Regulator, the one regulator that will be responsible for things like terms and conditions and complaints and everything else, because at the moment it's a state-by-state level and it's just not working at all. One of the issues is what bookies can put in their terms and conditions. Let's just go through this. I'll try and be as quick as possible. 6.2 under fraud. UpCos reserves the right to close accounts and void any or all bets made by any person, group, or corporation in an attempt to defraud UpCos, or in UpCos's reasonable opinion, the account has not been operated with integrity and or the bet has not been placed on a good faith basis. In UpCos's reasonable opinion, the bet has not been placed on a good faith basis, they can close your account. Okay, well, I don't know how many punters out there place bets on good faith bases because I certainly don't. I place bets to try and win bookies money. I don't know if that's good faith or not. What's the definition of good faith? We don't know what their definition of good faith is. Or if in UpCos's reasonable opinion. So they make the decision. Let's go to 6.3. In this event, betting accounts may be closed or suspended without giving any notice to the account holder. UpCos may also monitor your account and wagering activity if we suspect fraudulent activity. Based on reasonable suspicion, UpCos reserves the right to void any or all bets placed by an individual or group or people in an attempt to gain financial benefit through the manipulation of tote-based dividends or official starting prices. So what they're saying there is if they, in their opinion, if they have reasonable suspicion, they can void any bets that you place where tote dividends, and we see how small the pools are now. There's $500 in some of these exotic pools that they want to bet tote on. There's $2,000 where a lot of bookies are betting best tote in a Tats pool. Of course, we're going to get dividends that look like they have been manipulated. But if they have reasonable suspicion, they can just not pay, shut the account, and in an attempt to gain financial benefit. Well, why else would you be doing it if you're not trying to gain financial benefit? And that's just betting. That's nothing to do with actual, manipulate tote. You might just happen to land on one. Good luck to you. And as well on this point, 6.4, bookies bet back themselves into tote pools. I don't know whether Upcos do. I'm not saying whether they do. I don't know, but who does and who doesn't. But if I have 10,000 on number one tote and a bookie puts 4,000, 2,000 back on each tote, are they manipulating the pool? Is that against the rules as well, or is it just punters can't manipulate pools to do the best for themselves? 6.5, where Upcos suspects any form of pool manipulation, we reserve the right to limit the total payout of any individual account holder across all bet types to $500 in full settlement of all bets placed on the event. So they're going to pay out $500 if they suspect that you've manipulated the pool. Then they say they'll report you. Then 6.7, Upcos reserves the right to withhold payment or void all bets on any event if we reasonably believe match rigging has taken place. Match rigging, I suspect, is horse rigging as well. So where's the evidence of that? They reserve the right to withhold payment. So they can just think, oh, that was a big go. He looks a bit hot. We're going to withhold payment. But the problem here is that it takes the Northern Territory. Upcos are actually licensed by the New South Wales Greyhound Control Board, I think. They were in Northern Territory. A lot of the bookies who don't pay out or very hard in dealing with their terms and conditions and withhold payment and go down, hide behind these terms and conditions are licensed in the Northern Territory. So I don't know what the situation is with New South Wales Greyhound racing, how long these complaints take. But in Northern Territory, and the Northern Territory, a lot of these bookies have these in their terms and conditions as well. It takes 3 to 4 years to hear it. So if I've had a bet on a soccer match, it's a big go, blah, 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 the bookie doesn't want to pay out, Northern Territory aren't going to hear my complaint for up to 3 to 4 years. Maybe it's 2. But what do you do then? Do you go and engage a lawyer? Maybe they owe 5,000. What do you do? Go and get a lawyer and risk spending 10,000 on the lawyer to try and get 5? I don't think so. And you might lose up there as well. Bookies are paying every jurisdiction a lot of money. So it used to be on the racetrack, you'd go and if you had a problem, you go and see the betting supervisor and they'd sort it out there and then. 90% of cases were won by the punter, 10% by the bookie. Nowadays, more cases are won, I believe, by the bookie than they are by the punter. Let's keep going with these terms and conditions. The main point, one of the main points I want to make here is the jurisdiction. There should be somebody looking at these terms and conditions. Bookies will get away with whatever you can, as a lot of punters will as well. They'll get away with whatever they are allowed to get away with. But the rules that are in place at the moment are just disgusting that a lot of these terms and conditions are allowed to take place. Let's keep going. 6.8. Where we suspect that you have breached our terms and conditions, we may suspend your account and conduct an investigation. Upon our request, you agree to provide us with any reasonable information that we request as part of our investigation. So anything they request, you agree that you're going to provide it, such as a stat deck witnessed by a JP, properly certified ID documents and certified bank statements or payment method statements. Now, this is the bit that gets me. That they can ask for whatever they want, which is, under these AML acts, apparently they can, which is hard as well because they ask for phone records. I know a guy who was asked for his marriage certificate at one point. But this is a bit that gets me. I don't know. I mean, they can hide behind this as well to delay, but delay payment. But within the time frame that we require this, and by the manner that we request this from you, such as original documents posted to us. So don't say what the time frame is. It might be 24 hours. We want all this in 24 hours, and it's got to be posted to us, or you breach the terms and conditions. It doesn't say we'll definitely give you a couple of weeks to go and sort everything out. You agree that if you do not provide the information requested by us within the time frame that is required, or in the manner that we require it, that we may, in our discretion, no one else's, their discretion, conclude our investigation and or draw an adverse inference from your failure to comply with our information request and other investigation requirements. You agree that this is a material condition of our terms and conditions and that this clause is reasonable to ensure the orderly operation of our business. Good luck. You agree that when we have reasonable grounds to conclude that you have breached our terms and conditions, we may void any pending or resulted bets, so they can basically void whatever they want. This is a great bit as well. B, you may incur a monthly account fee of up to $20 for our various expenses associated with your account, your breach, and our investigation. C, you are liable to us for our financial loss that occurs because of or following your breach of our terms and conditions. D, you indemnify us against such loss. Wait for this bit. It's coming up. E, we can deduct any such fee. So you basically paying them because they said you breached the terms and conditions, which did you? You won't know for 3 or 4 years. And Northern Territory Gaming and Racing decided. We can withhold funds in your account until any investigation and dispute are resolved. So they're not paying out. As I said, they're licensed upcos in New South Wales now, but a lot of Northern Territory bookies have the same terms and conditions. This is a beauty. Listen to this one. Our financial loss and expenses can include our investigation expenses of up to $200 per hour and various taxation costs and levies of up to the higher of 7.5% of betting turnover or 50% of revenue, which is an estimate of our overall tax and levy fees. If this results in a negative account balance, you agree that the negative account balance is a debt that is due immediately payable to us, where our investigation concludes that you may have not breached our terms and conditions. We will not deduct any fee, loss, or expense. So you might back a winner. They say that you've manipulated the totes. One, you don't get paid, but two, you might end up owing them money. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy, but this is allowed to be published and they are allowed to, shut down accounts because it's in their terms and conditions. Let's move on and just have a quick look at the UPCOS's reserved rights. So if we have a look at 8.1, if any market or bet type displayed on the UPCOS website are clearly and or obviously in error, including human error or computer or tech malfunctions, we reserve the right to void any bets placed at the incorrect price. So I'm not sure who decides whether it's human error or not. So if you back something at $3 and it comes into $1.50, it could be deemed to be human error. We shouldn't have bet $3 or a tech malfunction. They can just they reserve the right to void any bets basically at the incorrect price. So if they make an error, which they deem for it to be an error, they can just cancel the bet. They make considerable effort to ensure its betting wagering business operates in a fair, prompt, and accurate manner. Upcos excludes all warranties related. Yeah, we'll move on from that. Yeah, this is an interesting one, 8.3, and this is one I've had a lot of accounts closed down and had to get reopened. Upcos reserves the right, in its sole discretion, to block access where suspicion of automated or robotic activity is found through its monitoring of traffic to and from the Upcos website. So, as a professional punter in 2025, you are not allowed to use robotics to bet where they licensed in New South Wales or New South Wales Racing at all. And if they deem that you are using any form of robotic activity, it's fine for them. They can change their prices and, just run off Sportsbet or run off Tab or run off Ladbrokes and just change the odds when they change the odds, bet on 300 different markets and do whatever they want, have everything automated. But if a punter wants to use robotic activity, no, we can shut your account down. And even if we suspect that you're using robotic activity and breaching those terms and conditions, we can withhold money and suspend your account. When an issue arises for these terms and conditions, make no provision. Upcos reserve the right in sole and absolute discretion to decide such an issue. Such decision will be deemed final and binding. So they're basically saying that we're just making up our own decisions here. We're doing what we want. Where a bet is accepted and or resulted through our platform and where any aspect of the bet is impacted by these rules, including but not limited to a maximum payout, we reserve the right to resettle that bet according to a relevant rule. This rule may include removing or reducing winnings, debiting any relevant winnings from the balance of your account, and or voiding the bet. Okay. You're getting the gist of this now. You are not permitted to operate an account with us or otherwise access or use our website or app using any type of automated, systematic, artificial, obscured or computerized method, including a VPN, proxy server, data extraction, or scraping. Yeah. So I'm not going to keep going through every bit of terms and conditions, but those are the ones that I picked out for Upcos. What's needed is a national regulator that can go through terms and conditions and their standard terms and conditions. And the most important thing are that these complaints. So I'm not saying that punters are always in the right. Sometimes punters are in the wrong. Sometimes bookies are in the wrong. It's not about who's right or who's in the wrong. I'm not here to just decide this and say punters are always right. What I am saying is that a lot of these things in these terms and conditions I don't agree with and shouldn't be in there. If they are in there, there needs to be a national regulator who handles complaints promptly to deal with this. Because what the big picture on this, all of this is, what the big picture is reduced turnover across the board. Because if people start having to deal with, people are starting to have to deal with non-payment by bookies, waiting long periods to try and get paid. What it does, it turns them off racing. Turnover plummets, the game shrinks, and it becomes very small and it becomes unethical. And there's so much talk about, fixing of races and cleaning up the game and all this sort of thing about, which is great. I mean, it's great how hard we are sort of in certain aspects of the game, and then we let this just slide and we let in corporate bookies, and there's 134 of them out there now, and this may only be for 10 or 15% of bookies that are falling into this, the terms and conditions, hiding behind the terms and conditions, not paying out. And it's massive revenue for them as well. And they are bringing down the bookies that are doing the right thing as well. So across the board, it is just terrible for the game. I'm going to finish talking now about it. But what I am going to do is be back for the Saturday set on Thursday and hopefully tip a few more winners on Max Bet on Friday. Stay in the game, stay in the zone. Have a great week.
Think, is this a bet you really want to place? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.